Hello and welcome to another instalment of Right from the Kickoff with your host Joe Wright, and joining me as always is my partner in crime William Bayliss. Second week of the Premier League, up and ready to go. Well,
I'm ready. Some juicy games already from game week one. I'm just excited that the Premier League has kicked off and we can get stuck into it again, can't
yeah,
we?
I mean when you say stuck in, I mean some of the players this weekend were getting stuck in and fouls weren't being called, but we'll get on to that. Just to do some housekeeping, so remember to follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter with the FTK Pod. And also make sure you like us on YouTube and subscribe to those videos. We need to get those subscribers up. Right, just before we go into the main bulk of it, remember we're going to be talking about some main talking points. Then we're going to be talking about kind of our predictions from the previous week and what the results were, and talking about the games. Obviously, then we're going to go into predictions, talk about our players of the week, and then we're going to introduce a new section that I was talking to Will about earlier this week. It's going to be called Joe Asks, Will Tells, where I'm going to be picking a topic every week just to ask Will about, and he's going to give his opinion on it. Now, Will does not know what this topic entails, so this is purely picked by me, and it's going to be answered by him on the spot. Right, so let's get down to it. Main talking point this week I wanted to go over is the officiating. Now, obviously, the Euros, they've obviously taken a lot from the Euros, Will. What did you make of the officiating this weekend? And they seem to let a lot more go. Obviously, tackles flowing, less cards as well shown. I just thought it was very much more entertaining. It's kind of what we were calling for. And if the first week's anything to go by, this is going to be a good thing, isn't it? And of course, there was one or two mistakes. But
That's bound to happen.
you're gonna get that. I mean, you can live with one mistake, can't you? But yeah, what did you think?
I think I actually picked up on about, obviously the championship kicked off the week prior to last game week, and I did notice that before, and I was like, oh, I wonder if that's going to follow through to the Premier League. Obviously, we saw it in the Community Shield. It was the same type of refereeing, which I really enjoyed. It's let the game flow. Obviously, you're going to get the contentious situations, but that's why we love football, isn't it? Like, if refereeing's going to be set in stone, then it's just going to be boring. So sometimes you need a bit of spice, and the more spicy challenges, the better, really. Obviously, in a safe way, which I think the ones which they are letting go are firm but fair challenges. You know what I mean, Joe?
Yeah, firm but fair challenges, and I think that's kind of what you want to see. I almost honestly, there were points in the game. You look at Leeds Man United. We know that can be quite a feisty affair. You look at even I watched the Leicester Wolves game. You know, you're watching these games, and I honestly, I said the words to myself in my head. I was like, it's like I'm watching football back in 2005 at some points, which was really good because I just thought, yeah, the game's flowing, challenges are going, and you know what? It can only increase the intensity of the rivalries we get if you're allowed to go in for a little bit more of a crunch and tackle. Like, obviously, we don't want anybody to get injured, but we just don't want fouls to be given for a strong breeze blowing a player over, do we?
No, and I think it's really good to see it. And I think as a result, there's less dives going on as well because players know that, oh, the foul through it now.
Yeah, and I think that's only going to help. It could hinder players like your Jack Grealish and your James Maddisons though, because obviously their game is a lot built on drawing those fouls. So the fact that they're not going to be given as much could hinder their games a little bit. What I was going to say is, moving on, because obviously we're talking about VAR and stuff. What did you make of the offside thing? Obviously, they seem to have brought in a bit more of a daylight rule in terms of the introduced thicker lines when they're looking at it. It seems to be moving a bit quicker as well. With the kind of judgment calls on it. Opportunity now to talk about the Leeds Man U game. A goal in that scored. Fernandes scored the goal. Obviously, through on goal, put it in. But last year probably would have been given offside.
Yeah, yeah, they probably would have done. Having said that, they still normally try to let the game flow. Like, they wait until the decision's been made, especially if it's like like a clear goal scoring opportunity where they would let it flow. So I think up to a point.
No, I'm purely. I think you misunderstood what I was saying. I purely meant it would have been chalked off in the end. That's what I meant. So, regardless of whether they're letting the game flow, I think last year, even if it would have gone into the back of the net, the goal would have been chalked off. And that's what I'm saying is last year we wouldn't have seen that goal scored by Hernandez, which gave him his hat trick actually. Okay, so moving on into the game, obviously Man U won 5-1. What did you make of this game, Will? And it was an exciting game if you're a Man United fan to watch. It really was attacking flow football. Pogba and Fernandes played brilliantly, didn't they?
Yeah, and it was a fantastic game, and I just want to pick on Pogba because he's had, let's be a very topsy-turvy time at Manchester United. Very much a confidence player. When you see him playing for France, he's a completely different player. He has the confidence to express himself. And I think he's just finding, if this game's anything to go by, some of the passing is like unbelievable. Like some of the best passing that I've seen, if I'm being real, and it's just been unbelievable. So I think he has that confidence at Man U now. So hopefully for him and for Manchester United, he'll be able to kick on and lead as he started. Like I think there's no reason why he can't be the top assist for
Oh,
the season. He already has four.
yeah,
He's been unbelievable, hasn't he?
yeah. I mean, I'm going to be devil's advocate. I don't disagree. I'm going to be devil's advocate, but I have to say, from Leeds' point of view, they were, for want of a better phrase, they were diabolical. Defending wise, I mean, when you're saying that Pogba played some brilliant passes, he did, and he was amazing, and I agree with you completely. But Leeds never really gave it, never really got touch tight to him. Obviously, they were missing Calvert Phillips because he's just come back from international duty, not had much of a break, etc., etc. So nobody was really getting touch tight to him. If you give a player like Pogba with the talent that he's got, that space, obviously he's going to be able to find the passes. So I'm not saying that he won't do all those things. I think he is going to be a great player for United this season. I'm just saying we're in game one. Do you know what I mean? We are in game one, and I think people just need to realise that whether you lose 5-1, whether you win 5-1, whatever, we're in game one. There's a lot more tougher tests for United to come, and like for everybody. So, really good performance for United. Fernandes was brilliant. I thought but I think United having fans back in this week was, you could really tell it upped a lot of teams, didn't it? I think everybody's had that kind of time, haven't they?
Yeah, and I think it's what the obviously it's obvious to say, but it's what the Premier League has been missing the last season, and I think you just get the extra kick, the extra inspiration to lead on and
Well, it's
win. I think that's shown in the first all the games because there was no draws in that game. There was only wins and losses. So
yeah. I mean, it's actually incredible when you look at the table. I mean, just not meaning to give anything away, but Tottenham are in 10th. And they've got 3 points after the first game, so it just kind of shows you what we're talking about. But moving on, so obviously 5-1 win for United, brilliant win for them. I think it only means they'll get stronger. I think they play really well, and I think they could be a threat this season. But we'll see. Again, game one. But Man City game. Now, I want you to talk me through this, Will. Did you watch the game? Obviously, as did I. I mean, are we surprised by the result? Obviously, everybody was talking about Man City before the game. Obviously Harry Kane. Everything was about Harry Kane and Jack Grealish before the game. Harry Kane not playing, of course, not in the matchday squad, as you'd expect. What did you make of the game? And have Tottenham got something to be excited about now, even if Harry Kane leaves?
yeah, and I think I know I said before that if Kane leaves, why would someone want to stay? I just thought that's exactly the reason why he wants to stay because then he will be the poster boy of Tottenham on his own. Do you know what I mean? And he'll have that more of a freedom to get forward like he does. And he scored yesterday. It was an unbelievable goal. And I think Tottenham just about edged the game. It was a great game. It easily could have been more than 1-0. It could have been 2-2 in the end. Like, uh, team had some really, really good chances, and Tottenham could have won the game 2-0 in the end. I know Bergwijn went through 1-1 in the last minute, didn't he? But he just put it wide.
Yeah.
But yeah, a fantastic game and a fantastic start for Tottenham. But if you remember from last season, Man City didn't have a good start to the season, did they? And they still managed to win the league in the end. So obviously, like we say before, it is early days.
Of course, I just think, and I mean, I know this is kind of everyone's been batting this statement around. I do think with Man City, they do, if they don't bring in Kane, they need to bring in a number 9. And I think the reason I say that is because obviously Pep likes to play the false 9. We know he didn't play Aguero that much last season, but I think what's happening is a lot of teams now, you look at, I mean, I know Leicester beat them in the Community Shield, played sort of similar tactics, obviously very different team, they play a lot of youth players, but they obviously lost 1-0. I think teams are working out that false 9 kind of tactic that Pep's kind of employing, because they've had a whole season to play against it. With the fact that Aguero wasn't playing. So I do think that Man City, oddly enough, with all the money they've got, do need a number 9.
But there's some breaking news as well that Lewandowski wants a new start. So if they don't get Kane, they could look at him to sign.
Yeah, well, I mean,
that'd be unbelievable, wouldn't it?
Yeah, reportedly as well. Bayern Munich won't accept anything lower than 100 million. Well, Man City have already bid this summer 100 million for Kane, so we know that they've got the money to do that. Obviously they brought Grealish. I just think that Lewandowski, now that Lewandowski's kind of made his intentions clear, I wouldn't be surprised if they go for him, because if Tottenham aren't budging on Kane, you're not going to spend another 50 mil on Kane if Lewandowski's available, because
but having said that, Lewandowski is a bit older, isn't he? So
he is, and I agree with that. But I don't think Harry Kane's worth 50 million more than Lewandowski. That's my point I'm trying to make. I'm not saying Kane isn't more expensive because he is younger, but I do think that the two strikers are of the same ilk. So I think if you're Man City, even if it's for a season or two, do you bring in Lewandowski for that amount of money, or do you chance your arm with Kane? But even so, they are two not aging strikers, but they are getting towards that kind of pivotal point of their career, aren't they? I mean, Lewandowski's more aging than Kane, as you mentioned. But it'll be interesting. But no, going back to Spurs, I just thought they played absolutely brilliantly. And my player of the week, I'm already going to say it now. I know it's the end of the show kind of thing, but Lucas Mora, absolute, honestly, him alongside Tanganga, they kind of get my two sort of players of the week mentioned, because they were just absolutely all over the pitch. I mean, Lucas Mora, he didn't score, but his running, his willingness to run past defenders, his tracking back, just winning everything that he could. Do you know what I mean? And this could be a breakout season for him. I know he's been at Tottenham for a while, but if Harry Kane does move, they've got to get new stars. So maybe
and I think Lucas Moura, he's been under the radar for a while. He's always been a good player for Tottenham, but now can he make the next step to be a great player for Tottenham? I think that's what you're saying.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you look at when he scored against Ajax in the Champions League semi-final a couple of seasons back. Do you know what I mean? So, he's always had the potential. He's come from PSG, so he's not a nobody. He's always been a very, very good player. But can he make that, like you say, can he make that step up to superstar player? Right. Have you got anything to add, Will?
No, I think that's all good, and I think it's going to be very interesting for the next game week for both these teams.
100%. Right, let's move on now then. So to the first game of the weekend, Friday night, kicked off the Premier League. Brentford 2, Arsenal 0. What did you make of this game, Will? And are Arsenal already in trouble? It would seem that way, the way that the media has been going this week. I mean, we don't really know what to say, do we? I mean, it's shambolic defending. Brilliant for Brentford. They were a better team throughout. Let's not make any bones. But Arsenal were... You worry for them, don't you?
Yeah, I mean, they are in a lot of trouble, I'd say. And I first Oscar from Real Madrid. I think he could be a good player for them, but he will be an improvement just about from what before. But you see Arsenal trying to sign Ramsdale. Like Ramsdale isn't. We
He's
saw
not
him
that
at
good, is he?
Sheffield United. He didn't set the world alight. They finished bottom of the table with those goals conceded. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah, you look at. You see, the thing is, if you were to take any of the, just going back to last season, if you were to take any of the goalkeepers that went down last season, I'd be looking at Johnston, really, because he saved West Brom a lot of times. Whereas, like, I always thought Ramsdale was a bit suspect. But anyway, with the players that are linked with, obviously, like you say, you've got Osgard, you've got Ramsdale. This, for me, this isn't necessarily going to improve their squad. We talk about the fact that obviously they're getting the centre mid from Real Madrid. He was in their side from January last season. So, he's a good player. I'm not saying that I wouldn't want him. Do you know what I mean? He is a good player and he is an improvement on what they've currently got. But we've already seen
but
it.
that
We
is
know what
saying
he's.
something for Arsenal. Like Arsenal have been terrible. But let's not take anything away from Brentford because they were unbelievable and they thoroughly deserved a 2-0 win. And I know we said they're going to finish mid-table, and I think they're proving a lot of people right. And I think the style of football and the way they go about it is just second to none. And I said this, we both said this, that when they're in Championship, they're built like a Premier League team with the way they play the football. And I said they'd probably fare better in the Premier League with the type of style
We
football they
said
play.
we said the same about Leeds, and we weren't proven wrong, were we? We said the same about Leeds the season before, and obviously Leeds came in last season. I think there are a lot of parallels between the two teams in terms of the way they play, sort of the pressing nature, the quick passing, kind of the way you see Leeds play is probably the way Brentford are going to play. Very entertaining, and it could have been more than 2-0, to be honest, couldn't it?
Yeah, they had the chances.
But yeah, so 2-0 there, and yeah, it was a good, it was a really good opening weekend, and obviously that was where you saw the fans kind of rocking and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Right, let's move on to Chelsea Crystal Palace. Obviously, both one of our top four. 3-0 Chelsea. You got this result right, I believe, didn't you, Will?
Yeah, I did.
We weren't surprised. I said 2-0, you said 3-0. But we were kind of singing along the same sheet. Weren't surprised. Are we going to be worried for Crystal Palace and Patrick Vieira? Because a lot of people seem to have them as favourites to struggle this season. I've
Yeah,
not
I
put
mean,
them down there, but
he is unproven at this level. But having said that, Chelsea, we always knew they were going to be title contenders. I tell you what, though, title race is going to be so interesting this season. I think that there could be 4 or 5 teams could fight out. Normally it's 1 or 2 or just one on its own. But I think this could be a really, really good season for the title race. Because you don't know where it's going to go.
Yeah, top 6 games or top 4 games, or whatever you want to call it, they're going to be vital this season. I think we're not going to see. I think a lot of these teams are going to blow the kind of bottom half of their tables away this season. I wouldn't be surprised, but I think the top 4 kind of teams fighting out for the title, the games that they play against each other are going to mean a lot more than they have done in previous season. I do believe.
Have a look at Chelsea as well. Lukaku didn't even play the Crystal Palace game, and Chelsea's just going to be unbelievable this season.
Yeah,
I'm calling it now.
Yeah, I think what's scary is you said obviously under Frank Lampard, Chelsea, they've got obviously Tuchel's coming and sorted the defence out, which was their kind of Achilles heel. He sorted that out, and because he sorted that out, they're just scoring for fun and not conceding goals. So it is scary. But yeah, Crystal Palace. I am slightly worried for them seeing them on the opening weekend, but they were playing against Chelsea, so it's kind of like they're gonna have wins this season against lower teams, so I won't worry too much as of yet. Right, moving on to the next game. Let me just have a quick look. Let's go to. I know this is kind of moving it, but let's go to Liverpool Norwich now. 3-0 Liverpool. What did you make of that game, Will? And it was obviously it's kind of what we expected, but Salah was on fire again, scoring 2 assists. Jota got a goal, and obviously Firmino. Are they back now that they've got Van Dijk at the back, and they seem to have a full complement now?
I think so. Yeah, I know it's still early days, and they were playing Norwich, who we put down for favourites to finish bottom of the table. It could be a good test for Liverpool to see if they're actually serious, and I think they are serious, if I'm being honest. But you want to be tested a bit more, don't you? And it's still early days, but I think Liverpool certainly have a as good as a chance as anyone, really.
Yeah, and I will say just on Norwich, obviously I know we put them down as kind of favourites to go down, but this particular game wasn't the game that they were going to be tested. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think most fans across the country would have put this scoreline down. I think I put you put 4-1, but the 3 goals in it were kind of what you were saying for the predictions. So it's not really a surprise, and Norwich will come up against kind of tougher tests in terms of where they're going to be finishing in teams in and around that.
Yeah, 100%.
Going on to Everton Southampton. Obviously Southampton started well. I want to touch upon Southampton just slightly, actually. Do you worry for them now? Obviously selling Danny Ings and obviously selling Vestergaard to Leicester, which even as a Leicester fan shocked me. That sale and also the price, 15 million for a proven Premier League centre back. I thought was a bit of a shocking move on Southampton's part. I mean, whether they've got to get rid of players or whatever, obviously contract situation. But what do you make of them?
I think it's touch and go because I think they probably will be safe. Obviously, Everton are a good side under Rafa Benitez, which he's a proven manager. He's going to get the results for Everton, and Everton look really good. Like, honestly, Richarlison has done really, really well. So I'm not surprised by the result. Like, we both said that Everton will win, but
I think you said a draw, actually. I think you went 0-0
yeah,
for the game.
that is true. I did say a draw, but not having seen them, I think Everton will be in the top 7, top 6 this season.
Well, I mean, I put them as 5 down as my prediction, and the reason I did that was because of Rafa Benitez. I think he's got the resources at Everton.
Yeah. I mean, I know it's been very controversial of him being manager of Liverpool before, but he's a really good manager.
But we both said over the summer, aren't we? We think it's a good appointment, whether you think it's controversial as an Everton fan or not. It's a good appointment because he's a proven Premier League manager. You look at what he did with Newcastle. I mean, some people are saying he didn't do much more than Steve Bruce, but in terms of what resources he had there, and obviously Champions League winner with Liverpool. But I think he could easily get them into the top 6 for sure, and that's why I put them at number 5. So to finish the season, but only time will tell. But good win for them. I thought crosses into the box and stuff for them was clearly what they were trying to do, and Calvert-Lewin got his goal as well.
Because obviously heading's his major strength, isn't it? So
yeah, and I think he really did play to the strength. So I mean. Southampton didn't do well with stopping that threat. If they're going to bang it into the box, you've got to stop those balls coming down the side. But a 3-1 easy win, and we'll go. It was decent. Right, let's move on to my team, Leicester v Wolves. This game, obviously, like I say, I watched it. This game was nervy at times. Leicester controlled the first half. Obviously went in 1-0. Beautiful goal by Vardy, nipping in front of Cody. As Ricardo, let me just touch on Ricardo quickly. He's like a new signing for Leicester. He's back to his best, and he's absolute quality. He's quality. But crossed it in. Vardy puts it in, and then realistically, Wolves could have had 2 or 3 in the second half. Traore had a couple of one-on-one chances, but he can't finish his dinner. That's why he's not more expensive or he's not gone to a bigger club. You've got to question why he's at Wolves. No disrespect to Wolves, but if he was scoring goals and with the pace that he got, he'd be at a bigger club, wouldn't he?
Yeah, I think his final touch and his final ball's always been questioned. Obviously, he had that good season a few years ago, but I think he could still turn out good for them. So obviously, he has been capped for Spain now, has a few games for them, so obviously he's not being frowned upon at all.
No, not at all. And he's, like I say, I think his pace is frightening. Like, he can get past any player. He's the quickest player in the Premier League at the moment, without a doubt. Without a doubt, especially with the ball at his feet. He doesn't really, without the ball and with the ball, he's just as quick. Like, he's just scary. You've got to double up on him, but even if you double up on him, he can go past you. If he's got the
Like,
space,
he's so strong as well, so I think hopefully he'll kick on the season again.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully he will. But Leicester point of view, a bit of a scrappy game. But like I said after the game, you always want to start off the season with a win, and that's what Leicester did. Was quite impressed with them. Obviously, Vardy getting the goal. We didn't really see much of the new boys, but I'm sure Leicester are looking a bit stronger this season. And I think they needed to be, with the fact that the top four have all strengthened.
Yeah, 100%.
Probably minus Liverpool at the moment, but let's be honest, you've got Salah, Mane, and Firmino and Jota. Did they really need to strengthen? But
not
yeah,
really.
yeah, so it's going to be interesting to see what Leicester do this season. Right, moving on to Newcastle, West Ham. What did you make, mate? What did you make of this game? And this game was beautiful. Like, it was so good to watch.
What a game this was. I mean, what a game. Obviously, it ended up being 4-2 to West Ham, didn't it? And honestly, it was an unbelievable game. Like, I thought Newcastle played quite well as well. Obviously, towards the end, when it was 3-2 to West Ham, the game opened up. So obviously, West Ham were bound to hit them on the count, particularly with their pace. But I think West Ham looked good again this season. And I've got a question for you, Joe. Do you think, judging on that performance alone, do you think they'll be okay for the season? Because Saint-Maximin particularly was unbelievable.
It's difficult because I feel like where Newcastle have got concerns, I don't actually think it's more attacking at the moment. I think it's defensively.
Yeah.
I think the issue is you always look at a team. Yes, you managed to score 2 goals, but if you lose 4-2, those 2 goals don't mean anything. A loss is a loss. I think from a Newcastle fan, I'm still underwhelmed by the performance because the defensive frailties at the back, once they got in front, you never felt confident they could hold on to the lead. And I think most teams still will look at Newcastle and go, realistically, this should be an easy 3 points. If you're a team that's looking to get into the top half, you're going, right, Newcastle's a team we should be taking 3 points off. That's the way I'm looking at it as a Leicester fan. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think I still think they'll be okay. Obviously Joe Willock's signed for them, but he wasn't eligible in time, so he didn't play. I think they will be okay. I think maybe 12th is where I've put them. I think that might be a little bit too high.
Yeah, I think it'd be around the relegation zone.
Yeah, you're probably right. But I think if you're a Newcastle fan, you are feeling a bit underwhelmed by the start of the season for sure.
Yeah.
Just quickly, last game going in. It was Aston Villa, Watford. Another great game. 3-2 to Watford. I mean, Salah played absolutely brilliantly, blinding down the wing. Obviously, they went 3-0 up. Villa got back into it. What did you make of these two teams, Will? And were you impressed? Who impressed the most for you with the display? Like I've said, Salah was most impressive.
Yeah, he was unbelievable. Obviously, we questioned Villa whether they could perform without Grealish, and I think that's only going to take time. Obviously, they're signing new players. Obviously, they went 3-0 down and then managed to get it to 3-2 in the last minute. So if they could have nicked the equaliser, but I thought Watford played really, really well. I know we spoke about it last week about that first game bounce for teams coming up. As we saw Brentford get the win, obviously not with Norwich, but they were playing Liverpool. But Watford, unbelievable, and they not just a bounce, but I think judging on their performance, they could stay up this season.
They could, and I think to be honest, Watford, even though we both have put them in the bottom three, I think you have as well, haven't you?
Yeah.
But I think Watford were a bit of an unknown entity. It's not like it's not like they're Norwich where they just kind of yo-yo between the two leagues. Watford did have a spell, didn't they, where they stayed up for quite a period of time. I can't remember how long they stayed up for, but it was 2 or 3 years, wasn't it, where they were in the Prem.
Yeah.
So it's not like they haven't got that sustainability. And actually, they did go down on the last day last time. It wasn't like they were blown away in the league. Just briefly then, so we talked about Watford. What did you think of Villa? New signings. Leon Bailey played a great pass. McGinn again.
Oh, what a finish that was!
He's a player that I very highly rate. He's kind of, in terms of horseman-like, he reminds me a lot of Albrighton. And I know the two players in very different positions, but in terms of gives 110% every time he's on the pitch.
Yeah, I've noticed
really,
that Villa are now playing a different way without Grealish as well, so they don't have that one thing of creativity. They need to work a bit more as a unit now.
yeah,
And I think you could slowly see that them trying to do that. So I think it will come. I think it'll just take a bit more
yeah.
time.
Right, one last game. Sorry, I forgot about
Yeah,
this one.
I was going to bring that one
Yeah,
up.
Burnley Brighton. What did you make of it? And it was 2-1 to Brighton in the end. Good result for them, because I think the more points that these two teams, I know we've put them kind of lower half the table. I think I put Burnley in the relegation zone. So the more points you can get at this stage of the season, the better. I think it's actually more important for the teams that are going to be struggling towards the end of the season to try and hit the ground running, to try and get as many points into the bank now, so you're not chasing at the end of the season.
Yeah, and I think Brighton can finally score some goals. I think they did look a real threat going forward, as they have been last season, but they're actually scoring the goals. And if that's a sign going forward for Brighton, if I was a Brighton fan, I'll be very, very, because that's the only thing what Brighton are missing. Because if they scored all those goals, I think they would have finished mid-table.
Oh yeah, well we said that, didn't we? We kept saying it week on week. I don't really know how Brighton have lost. So yeah, no, 100%. And
It's a very good sign for them.
obviously they've lost Ben White, but they rinsed Arsenal for 50 million. I think they've obviously a very good sign for Brighton, and hopefully they can kick on. Burnley, still worried about them a bit. Got to be honest. They've not
But
made.
they didn't really sign anyone, did they?
Yeah, no, that's what I mean. They've not made, and I'm not saying that they've had. They're a team that haven't made any signings, but they've always made one or two signings. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where they haven't this time. So the fact that they haven't signed anyone does make me worry a bit, because you always need one or two fresh faces, even if they're not going to get into the first team every week. One or two fresh faces around the ground is always what you need. I think just to push players, just to have a new injection of energy and stuff. It's not always just about what the new signings bring to the pitch on match day. It's about what they also bring in around the training ground and stuff. Seeing new faces, it always helps. So the fact they've not really made any signings is a worry.
Yeah, but I know we've always commended Burnley for their defensive strengths, but I think they were particularly weak, and I think they do need that injection just to help lift the place, like you were saying. And yeah, I think it's worrying times, particularly because they're playing Liverpool next game as well. So they need to get the first win somewhere. They need to get the first points on the board. Being a Forest man, I wouldn't know what that means, but
yeah, I was gonna say yeah. Sorry.
They do need that. But shall we move on to our week 2 predictions? So we do I'll run through the games and my predictions, when you can say yours. We'll do some quick fire ones.
Yeah, that's fine. It's quick fire. Let's go.
So Liverpool Burnley, I'm gonna go 3-0 be way too strong. I think Salah's going to get a few. Maybe Yotta's going to score as well. What score are you going for there, Joe?
So it's Liverpool and
Burnley.
I'm gonna go 2-0 Liverpool. I think Liverpool are going to be too strong. I can maybe see Burnley scoring, but I'm still sticking with 2-0.
Yeah.
2-0.
So moving on to Villa Newcastle, I think it's going to be a high scoring game. I think both defensive have been shown to be frail, but they can score goals. So I'm going to go 2-2, the first draw of a Premier League season.
I'm gonna go 2-2 as well. I'm gonna stick with you on that one. I already had that one down in my mind. So yeah, I think the first draw of the campaign.
Yeah. Crystal Palace Brentford. I think Brentford are gonna win this one. I think like we say, Palace are still unproven. I think Brentford are just gonna be too much. So I'm gonna go 2-1 Brentford.
I was literally gonna go the same. I'm gonna put 2-1. I'm not trying to copy you. I swear. I had these results down. I'm not going to change my opinion just because you've said it.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go 2-1 Brentford as well.
That's fair. So moving on to Leeds Everton, and I think it's going to be a really good game. And I think Everton are just going to edge it, judging by the first game of the season. So I'm going to go 2-1 Everton.
Right. Thank God you said a different result. I'm going to go 2-0 Everton. I think
only
Everton,
just different.
yeah, but still different.
Yeah. Moving on to Man City Norwich, I'm going to go 4-1 Man City. I think Norwich are just not hopeful for the season.
I'm going to go 4-0 Man City. I think they're too strong for them. I can't see Norwich scoring against Man City, to be honest. I think Man City will have a reaction now. After the game.
Brighton Watford, I'm gonna go 1-1. I think it's gonna be a draw this game.
I'm gonna go 2-1 Brighton. I think Brighton,
I can see that as well. Yeah.
Yeah, I think Brighton might nick this one. So.
Yeah. Moving on to Southampton, Man United. I think Man United are gonna breeze us. I'm gonna go 3-0 Manchester United.
I'm gonna go 4. I'm gonna go 4-0 Man United.
Very high scoring games this game week if it happens. Wolves Spurs. Now this is a juicy one. Nuno obviously manager now at Spurs. I think it's going to be a high scoring affair, but I think Tottenham are just going to edge it. I'm going to go 3-2 to Tottenham.
I'm going to go 2-0 Spurs.
Oh, that'd be interesting. Arsenal Chelsea now, this is a classic of the Premier League years. But 05-06, there's been some fantastic games between these two teams. So I'm going to go 2-0 Chelsea. I think Arsenal just haven't looked very good.
Yeah, I'm going to go 3-1.
3-1. That'd be a good game.
Yeah, 3-1 to Chelsea.
Yeah, and finally, your boys versus West Ham. Now, again, I think this is going to be a really, really good game. But I actually think it's going to be a draw, so I'm going to go 1-1.
I was going to go 1-1 as well. I think it will be a draw.
For God's sake, yeah.
Yeah, no. So, look, mate. I can't go different to what I think, and these I've already pre-organised these. So the fact that you're saying them first, so it's 1-1.
I just find it so funny. It's like we've just nailed it into one person now.
No, it's not. It's not necessarily that. It's just obviously like these results. You are going to think there's going to be lots of different changes and stuff over the season as we know it. So yeah, I'm going to go. In fact, change that score prediction to 2-1 Leicester. I'm going to back my own team.
I love it, Joe. Love it.
Back my own team. 2-1 Leicester.
If it's 1-1 now, I'm going to be laughed so hard. But yeah, I think there's some good predictions, and make sure you drop your predictions down below and we can compare notes afterwards. So let us know your thoughts on those. And the final section, I'm going to hand it over to you, Joe.
Right, so obviously, just quickly, player of the week for you, Will, just very quickly.
Oh, I'm going to have this, for me, is that of Pogba or Salah. I think Pogba just edges it. I think the freedom what he showed, I think he's just been unbelievable. And if he kicked on now, it'll be like a new signing for Manchester United
I love
on top
how
of what they already have.
I love how Fernandes scored a hat-trick and he's not even anyone's player of the week, because I'm going to go Lucas Mora, because like I say, Lucas Mora against Man City was phenomenal, and I think this will be his breakout season.
Let's not take it away from Bruno Fernandes. Some of his finishes proves that it's not just a penalty merchant. Like, he has some real quality.
Of course not. Right now, so we're coming to the new section of Joe Asks, Will Tells, and like I say, the topic, I'm going to pick a topic and Will is going to answer me on this topic. So the topic this week is Nottingham Forest. I know you're a fan.
God, I knew this was going to come. I knew it.
This question was preordained before last night. Obviously, they lost last night. For those of you who don't know, they lost 2-1 to Blackburn at home as well, I believe. And it was an 86-minute winner. Sorry to make you relive the pain. Chris Hughton. Okay, is he out for you? And if he's not, what has he got to do to change your mind? In fact, even if he is out for you, how can he change your mind? So, Chris, what has he got to do to get the fans back on side? Because we know there's a lot of fans calling for his head this morning. And I do fear for him if he does lose against Stoke at the weekend. That is
Stoke have looked good. If I'm being honest, before, but last night is when it really came into fruition, how we just don't have. For example, we went 1-0 down, and we were calling for like another attacking player to come on, and so we normally play a 4-2-3-1. So we have the two holding midfielders. So rather than him taking a holding midfielder off for someone, he took on Mighton, who's a winger, for Carvalho, who's a cam. So Johnson played on the wing after that, who's also a cam/winger. So he doesn't really have a plan B, and that's the first time where creativity, the extra spark. I do feel sorry for him though, because we have a very, very young squad. 5 or 6 players were youth players. So we had Mighton, a youth player, Mighton and Johnson are more first team, but they still came through the academy and they're still fairly inexperienced. 2-2 from Arsenal. So we had Finley back. You might have heard of his dad, who played for England rugby. He came on for
Tigers player. Just saying.
He came on for the majority of the game. We had Gabriel, who played left back. He got sent off for that game, so that's even more problems for fullback. We had Forner, who came on as well, on top of Mighton and Johnson already. So there's many youth players, and we need that injection of cash. And I know before we signed so many players who were like, that's why you have a scouting network to get good players. I know it's a hard market. A lot of teams are struggling, but other teams are still signing good players.
Look, I'm not gonna.
We will be in a lot of trouble. Sorry, Joe. And I am torn because I know the board can do. They are trying the hardest. It's just hard, and I do feel sorry for Houghton in that sense.
Just a couple of things before we sign off. So obviously you made a point there about finding those hidden gems. You've got it. That's why you've got a scouting system. If you look at, I'm going to make the parallels, but Leicester, when they pushed for the Championship title back in 2014, a couple of seasons prior to that, they signed 2 players. You might know them very well for a tune of 1.4 million, both players. Do you know who those players are, Will?
Mora and Kante.
No, Mahrez and Jamie Vardy.
I'd say.
Yeah, so we signed them, and it's all about picking those players out. So it can be done. Do you know what I mean? It can be done. You can find those players. Obviously, you've got to be lucky. I mean, those 2 were hidden gems for Leicester, but you can find them, and that's what you're talking about, scouting network, which Forest really haven't done that well at, I've got to be honest, bringing players in.
To be fair, that's why we have Dane Murphy in, who just came in this summer, so it will take a bit of time from together. But it feels like Forest have been going through a transition period, like I say to you last night, for the last 10 years. So hopefully that will improve. Example as well, which I just want to bring up, that we've signed a lot of loan players. If you have a look at Brentford, one of Brentford things they say is that they don't have any loan players because there's no real investment there. So I do see that point as well. Like we do need to sign players, but teams are going to let the best assets go for much, like any less than like 5 mil. You know what I mean?
Yeah, of course they're not. And the thing is as well now is because more money's being spent in football, it's harder for teams like Forest to operate. It just is, because if you're not in that top tier of football, it's difficult to keep that momentum going, especially when you've got a team like Norwich who keep yo-yoing, as we keep saying, but they keep their players. And at championship level, as we know, they are difficult to beat. Just a quick one then. So, without sitting on the fence, where are you, Chris Hughton, in or out? Just without sitting on the fence. So you've got to give me a definitive answer. Where are you at the moment, in or out?
I'm gonna stick to my guns. I'm gonna say Chris Hughton in. We've had so many managers, and maybe it's the club's fault.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say in that fault.
Well, thanks for that, Will. Great to sign off there. So that'll be a new feature every week. Again, it doesn't matter who's running with the show. I will always, at the end of each podcast, be talking to Will about whatever topic. The first one was just purely because it's close to him, and I thought it would be interesting to get his view on it, especially with Forest being in a bit of turmoil at the moment. So, yeah, we'll move on to next week. Obviously, big game week. Are you looking forward to it, Will? And I think there'll be a few surprise results, won't there?
Yeah, I can't wait to get stuck into the action. Make sure you follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Like the video and make sure you subscribe to listen to all of our latest podcasts.
And make sure you get our content on. We get a lot of the content going on Instagram, questions, asking you what you think. So please head over to there to get more content and more football fever.
Let's have it, Joe. And as always, next week we'll be joined by the one and only. You know who he is by now. That's right, it's Peter Crouch.
It's Peter Crouch. What a guy. All right, cheers, Will.